Derek's world was built on a foundation you could touch and measure: concrete, steel, the weight of a toolbox, the predictable hum of machinery at the plant. For 30 years, that was his truth. At 50, that truth was showing its cracks, not in his philosophy, but in his body. The green V-neck was a comfortable lie. The black sweatpants, a uniform for a man who'd declared a truce with his own decline. His dinners were solitary affairs, a frozen meal zapped in the microwave. Eaten in the blue glow of the television, the silence a stark contrast to the lively home his daughter Lina had created since she'd gotten married. Lina was his entire world, his only child. From the moment she was born, she had wrapped him around her little finger. He'd raised her alone after her mother passed. And he'd done it his way, with practicality, tough love, and a firm belief that she didn't need invisible friends in the sky. He was her rock. When she married Mark, a good man who, to Derek's quiet relief, wasn't particularly religious either, a part of him relaxed. His job was done. He'd given her a strong, self-sufficient foundation. The day it happened started with no omens. It was a Saturday. He was in the grocery store, a place he hated. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. He was in the cereal aisle, reaching for the same brand he'd eaten for 20 years, when a sledgehammer of pressure hit his chest. It wasn't just pain. It was a presence, an immense, crushing weight that stole the air from his lungs. He dropped the box, the colorful cardboard exploding on the linoleum. He stumbled, grabbing a shelf for support. The world became a tunnel. Not here. Not like this, he said to himself. Somehow, he made it through the automatic doors. The sunlight was blinding. His car was 50 feet away. It might as well have been 50 miles. His legs gave way and he crumpled onto the sun-warmed asphalt. The frantic, galloping rhythm of his own heart was the only sound that mattered now. It was a drum counting down to 0. And then the feeling washed over him, a cold, absolute knowledge. This is the end. All his certainty, his pride, his self-made identity, it all vaporized. He was just a man, alone on the ground. But his mind, faced with extinction, didn't cling to his own life. It flashed to Lina, her face beaming just last week as she placed his hand on her round belly. "You're going to be a grandpa," she'd whispered, her eyes sparkling with a future he might not see. The memory was a physical ache. He was going to miss it. He was going to leave her his only legacy, the best part of his life with the hollow echo of his disbelief. The regret was a sharper pain than the one in his chest. He looked up past the rust-stained gutter of the building into the vast, empty blue of the sky. It was an act of pure, desperate instinct. From the deepest, most hidden part of his soul, a prayer formed. It was ragged and unpolished. "God, I have denied you my whole life. I told my daughter you were a story. But if you are there, if you can hear me, please, don't let it end like this. Save me. I want to. I need to meet my grandchild." For Lina. The next thing he knew, he was in the blur of the ambulance. And in that sterile racing space, a memory surfaced. It was from years ago, a conversation he'd overheard between two coworkers. A quiet woman named Sarah had said something that had stuck with him. She quoted a scripture that said, "But God demonstrates his own love for us in this: while we were still sinners, Christ died for us." Romans 5 verse 8. The verse landed in his heart now, not as a religious slogan, but as a revolutionary idea. Love offered, not after he got his act together, but while he was a mess. While he was actively wrong, recovery in the hospital was a slow, humbling grind. Lina was there constantly, her worry slowly turning into relieved care. She held his hand, and for the first time, he didn't feel like the strong father. He felt like a fragile man being propped up by his daughter's love. It was during one of these quiet moments that she said, "You know, Dad, when I didn't know if you'd make it, I was so scared. I didn't know what to do, so I prayed. I held on to this verse. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future." Jeremiah 29 verse 11. She said it with such simple faith, and this time Derek didn't shrug it off. A future? Could a plan, a good plan, include a grandfather for Lina's child? the idea took root. His old life tried to reassert itself. His friend, Bill, a fellow atheist, came to visit. "Wow, D, you look like hell," he joked. They'd laughed, but the laughter felt thin. Derek looked at Bill and saw a ghost of his former self, the defiant certainty that now felt like a prison. Weeks later, he was home. The house was quieter than ever. The Bible Lina had given him sat on his coffee table. Overwhelmed by the silence and the fear of another attack, he picked it up. It fell open to the book of Psalms. His eyes landed on a single line: "The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit." Psalm 34, verse 18. A tear traced a path down his cheek. That was him. Broken-hearted over the time he'd wasted, crushed in spirit by his own pride. And the verse didn't say God would help the perfect. It said he was close to the broken. This began a new chapter. He started attending a small church with Lina and Mark, not as a convert, but as a curious guest. He was doing it for family, he told himself, but something else was happening. He found a community of other broken people, all leaning on a hope bigger than themselves. The resolution wasn't a fairy tale. He still struggled. But the man who sat in the nursery 6 months later, holding his newborn grandson for the first time, was not the same man who collapsed in that parking lot. As he looked into that tiny, perfect face, a verse from Lamentations came to mind. "Because of the Lord's great love, we are not consumed. For his compassions never fail. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness." Lamentations 3:22-23. He had been given a new morning, a second chance, not just at life, but at what his life was for. He was no longer just Lina's rock. He was her father, learning to lean on the rock, and as his grandson curled a tiny hand around his finger, Derek understood for the first time what it meant to be part of a story so much bigger than himself. His story is a testament that no heart is too hard, and no hour is too late. If Derek's journey from certainty to seeking God resonated with you, if it sparked a flicker of hope, then please, don't keep it to yourself. Share this video with someone who might be at their own crossroads. Like this video if it reminded you that new beginnings are possible. And if you want to join our community as we explore more stories of faith being infused into the grid of everyday life, we would be honored to have you. So please subscribe and hit the notification bell. Your own new morning might just be waiting. Thanks for watching.